Over 40 million Americans use 5 wishes, and one of the reasons it's so popular is because of Wish 5, that lets people talk about how they want to be remembered and what they want their loved ones to know, what it is that they leave behind, what mark did they make, what was the meaning of their life. These important existential questions are on the minds of individuals, particularly at the end of life as they're about to go home to God. And Maggie, I think sometimes we can get so caught up in the negativity about death. Of course, to say there's a good death sounds like an oxymoron. There's no such thing. But that's underlying that is this attitude, I'm going to live forever.
Right.
Well, unless you're Elvis Presley, God's not going to make an exception in your case, because he's the only one I think that's still somewhere. I've seen him on shows. So if you're going to die, and if we have a mature realization of this, what is it that's keeping us from having a more hopeful vision for going home to God in the dying process?
I think we collectively have a denial around death, and I don't think that helps. I think some of that's cultural and all of that. We want to live forever, and we want to be beautiful forever,
Right.
and we don't want to age.
The whole Hollywood value system.
Right, and that's not helping matters. I think people are afraid and anxious about it, and I think that's the beauty of the 5 wishes. Is it very gently and simply asks people to confront this reality of living, right? So I think that makes a big difference. And I do think that there can be a good death and that there are many good deaths. And I think never before in the history of time have we been so lucky to have the tools to have a comfortable death,
Right. And I do think once you look at what hospice can do,
Right.
When palliative care is done well, even for individuals that are in end-stage cancer, so often the medical professionals are wanting to treat
Right.
until the end, knowing that it's not going to lead to a recovery. Right. If individuals are able to accept the terminal condition that they have, the underlying illness that's going to take their life, they begin to discover, I think, more meaning in that season. And then they can understand through palliative care that you can be kept clean and comfortable and have your pain managed, and you can be accompanied and have your spiritual needs met. All of the things that 5 Wishes allows individuals to choose in Wishes 3, 4, and 5 that talk about comfort and dignity. It seems like it's an uphill battle, though, if all this denial about death and the cultural pressures to live forever. Is there ever going to be headway made on this idea that you can have a peaceful death? Good death?
Yeah. I mean, I think there will. And I think the more people talk about their personal experiences with a good death, I think that really helps, because that goes a long way in normalizing what is a normal thing. I recently was fortunate enough to witness one. And I was really struck by, it's not my first one either, but I was really struck by the beauty of it and the naturalness of it. And people don't talk about that. And I know not everybody has that kind of death, but when you see it, it's incredibly profound and moving and also very natural, much
Right.
like birth.
Right. Yeah. I think that parallel to childbirth is often ignored, but it's the 2 moments where you see such human events wrapped in such mystery. It's almost where the seen world and the unseen world converge at those 2 moments. And so often we try to run from and hide from this. That's why it was so upsetting during the COVID time when there was a prohibition denying the spouse to be at the bedside of the spouse. That was you see when that happens and how wrong that is, that it sees what's right about it, which is people want company. They want to be loved and accompanied and helped, because there is a certain terror that comes with the unknown, but there's also a beauty if you believe that you came from God and you're going home to God. And I think even people of no faith have a realization that there can be peace at the end of life.
Absolutely. And, there's something about the love is very palpable in these moments. You can feel it, really.
Right.
And I think that is actually, for the living, that is a gift to feel that in that moment. Something we take away from the death, too. So it lasts. It goes out into the world in its own way, too.
That's why I spent a full chapter on Mother Teresa's death day and the details of it, because there was so much beauty around it. And the sisters that were present with her when she died speak about it as changed women, like they'll never forget that, because it was also an evangelical moment for her. It was a witness of her faith that she believed that there was a loving God that was ushering her into eternity. And when you have that kind of horizon, that kind of vista, there's peace. And I think that's been lost. And I think that's why Hopland chaplaincy is so important, and the different faiths and the rituals they have around death. I think the Jewish faith is exceptional in understanding how to educate and treat both before and after. And then, of course, in Ireland, you have your wakes.
We do. We have the wakes. Yes, they go on for quite a long time, Jim. We can wake someone for a long time.
So I guess that makes not only a good death, but a good funeral.
Right.